Hey everybody, I wanted to give you a couple helpful tips on the Chapter 6 work. There's a couple parts that usually cause a little bit of confusion, and I've updated the Chapter 6 assignment where it says Chapter 6 Project 3 to reflect the first thing I'm going to tell you, but then I want to show you a part that usually causes a little bit of confusion. So for the Chapter 6 project, you have to do Project 1, leave it open, do Project 2, and then at the end of Project 2, it actually tells you to save it as Project 2, and then for Project 3, it tells you to open Project 1. Don't do that. Do Project 1, do Project 2, do Project 3, all on the same document, and then turn it in. If you open back up Project 1, you lose all the stuff you did in Project 2, so don't do that. Make sure, do Project 1, you can save it, leave it open, do Project 2, save it, leave it open, then do Project 3 so that your final submission that you upload to Moodle has the entire contents of Project 1, 2, and Project 3. So Project 2, Step 5 is one that causes a little bit of confusion. When you get to that point, you should have basically what you see on the screen here, except for there'll be a little bit of formatting that you did in Project 2, Step 4. I didn't do that. You make the title, certain font and color, indenting the first line of the paragraphs is what I'm going to show you how to do on Step 4, and then I'll talk about what Step 5 talks about. So Step 4, Step B says to indent the first line of each paragraph. So this is technically a title, so we're not going to do that one. But we're going to insert our insertion point at the very first of each one and push Tab. Make sure don't use spaces to do indents. Use Tab because you can adjust the tab indentation amount, but you can't adjust spaces. So make sure you're using Tab to indent the first line of each paragraph, such as this. Okay, so we've indented it 4B, then you're going to justify the first two and last two paragraphs, change the line spacing, etc. I'm not going to do that right now because the steps in the book are really clear on how to do that, so make sure and read that chapter. But on Step 5, it says, depending on the method you use to format the paragraph with the first line indent, the indent position for the last three paragraphs may be at 1/4 of an inch instead of a 1/2 inch, like the first two paragraphs. This occurs because the bulleted list formatting carries over to paragraphs before and after. So it wants us to change that to the 1/2 inch for the other one. So let me show you what it's talking about. So you can see, if you look, this is a 1/2 inch indent, these two are, but this is not indented the full amount, nor is this paragraph or this one. That's because the indentation from this bulleted list, you can see, is carrying over to the paragraphs before and after. So there's a couple of ways to fix that, so I'm going to show you how to do that. That's what it's talking about. This bulleted list is the formatting for the indentation has applied to the paragraphs before and the ones after. So we need to fix that. So the best way to do that, well, not the best way, one way to do it, the way the book probably tells you how to do it, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Just click in the paragraph, and on the Home tab, open the paragraph dialog box, and you'll see there's a special first line indent by 0.25, and that should actually be 0.5. 0.5. Push OK. And now our indentation is at the same spot. The way I like to do it, and the paragraph dialog box is the way the book talks about, that's great. One thing that I always do with Word is I make sure and have the ruler displayed at the top. So on the View tab, you can actually turn the ruler on and off. And this is helpful because you can click in the paragraphs and see this first line indents at a 1/2. That's what this first little flag is. When you click here, you can tell that first line indent, that top flag, is actually at 1/4, halfway between the margin and 1/2 inch. You can see that on this one too. So you can go back to the Home tab, paragraph dialog box, adjust the first line indent, or I like to just drag this little flag over. Do that, drag the little flag over. So then you have a 1/2 inch indent for all three. So make sure that you adjust those. If you just use the tab key after doing the bulleted list, that's what's going to happen. If you did the paragraph dialog box or the first line indent with the ruler before you typed in, then you won't have a problem. But in most cases, we type that in, we go back and push tab, and then that first line indent formatting carries over from these. So make sure and get that. Then you'll go on, you'll adjust a few more things, and then do Project 3, formatting with styles. I'm going to post a video up in the intro forum, or excuse me, in the helpful tips and tricks to kind of expand a little bit about the styles and what can be done with those here in just a little bit.